Hello students, let's read our problem. Some tree enthusiasts wanted to measure the height of a sequoia tree using a yardstick, the sun, and its shadow. The measurements are below. What is the height of the tree? I have mentioned that when we are solving questions in the videos, we don't read many times to save time, but I actually like to read my questions 2 times or 3 times. I did underline important information. I identify that none of the previous sentences have numerical values or anything, but this is what is more important. They want to know the height of the tree. And then I notice here that in this big triangle, the left side of the triangle has the sequoia tree, but then inside the triangle, I can see a little triangle right here. Can you see it, guys? Well, one of the best strategies to solve similar figures when we have a shape inside another shape, or when the shape is rotated or reflected or anything like that, is to separate the shapes and having the shapes in the same direction. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna get started with the big triangle. Can you see this side, guys, here? Well, this blue side will represent the height of the big triangle. Kind of is gonna look like this. Then, guys, we have, I'm gonna put this in green, this other side that is 35. So I'm gonna say this one here is at 35 yards. And then, of course, we have to connect those two sides. You see that, guys? Okay, so what I did is I draw this blue side representing the height of the tree. This green side represents these 35 yards, and then this is the slanted side. Of course, they want to know the height of the tree, so then this is going to be our question mark. Okay, the next thing that we notice is there is a small triangle right here, and I'm going to represent corresponding sides in the same color. So you see how this is the height of the tree? Well, this is corresponding to that one. So that will be kind of like this. And then we have a small green section right here. And then that is connected. So the blue side is, can you read it, guys? Thank you. 22 yards. And then this green side, it says to be 5.5. Now you see how if we separate the shapes, it's easier to see because this side corresponds to this side, and this 35 down here, this 35 down here corresponds to this 5.5. Again, 22 corresponds to the unknown side, the one that we need to figure, and this 35 corresponds to this 5.5 yards. And I check that I have the same units, yards to yards. And then also these ones are yards, so then this one is going to be yards, just like all the answer choices right here. The first step will be to separate your shapes. Our second step will be to set up the proportion. Your teacher can do it maybe different than the way I'm going to do it, or it might be the same, but as long as we have corresponding quantities on the same side, we're doing okay. And how do we identify those? By following the colors. Okay, so I'm gonna get started with the triangle where I have everything. So I have 22 yards, and that is in blue. So I'm gonna put, when I have 22 yards in the height, the base is 5.5. These are yards. You see, guys? So that's what we're saying. When I have 22, the other dimension is 5.5 in the same shape. Now I'm gonna look on the big triangle. So when I have 22 on the small one, what is the height that I see on the big triangle? And that's an unknown. We don't know that one. And when I have 5.5 on the small triangle, like here, on the big triangle, I have 35. Great. So this value here is going to be the same color as this. So this is going to represent what, guys? The height. Just like this 22 right here is representing the height. And this value here on the small triangle represents what? The base. So this one also represents the base. So you see I have base to base in the same row. On the same row I have height to height, and that's why I have them in blue. Awesome. What did you notice here, guys? We have 1, 2, 3 values and one unknown. Remember that I told you we can look for patterns side to side or up and down, since this behaves like a table, and if we find the pattern, then we can just apply the pattern on the unknown. But is it really friendly to go from 5.5 to 35? It's not really, and I have decimals, it's not that easy. And to go from 5.5 to 22, I know it's gonna be 4 something, because I know 5 times 4 is 20, but I don't know for sure. So in this case, what I'm gonna choose is to do what? A proportion, finding cross product. So we multiply the two numbers that are across, and then we divide by the other number that we have here. Okay, so I'm gonna say this is gonna be my step 3. It's gonna be do the proportion. And to find the unknown of the height, what we have to do is multiply 22 is across, I'm gonna use the multiplication dot, times 35, and then it's gonna be divided by the other number that we haven't used yet, which is the 5.5. Okay, so this 22, we got it from here. The height is what we're looking for. The 35 is across, so that's what I have to have multiplying two opposite colors, and then the 5.5 on the bottom. Great. So now we're gonna do our fourth step. For my fourth step, what I'm gonna do is do the multiplication. I have to multiply 22 times 35. 22 times 35. Can you help me to multiply? 5 times 2, that's 10. 0 and we carry 1. 5 times 2, 10 plus 1, that's 11. Now we're going to multiply the 3. 3 times 2, that makes 6. This is an empty space, that's a placeholder. And then 3 times 2 again, that's a 6. I'm going to do the addition on the side. 1 plus 0, that's going to be 0. 1 plus 6, that's going to be 7. 1 plus 6, that's going to be 7. Then if I have decimals in any factor, I have to count them. But I have no decimals in 22 and no decimals in 35. So it's going to stay like this. Next step, so we already multiplied 22 times 35, and that gave me 770. And then at the end, we're going to have to divide by 5.5. And it carries the same color because it still is the same number. And we mentioned this 770 is the product of 22 times 35. I'm going to pause the video a little bit, guys, because I want to make some squiggles to separate the different steps that we have done so far. Okay, guys, so do you see the squiggles? I hope it makes more organized the work. What we're going to do next, we're going to do this division right here. The symbol here means long division. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do long division. The dividend is the 770. 770 divided by 5.5. This 5.5, I got it from here. Now, the only thing here, guys, is that I cannot divide when I have a decimal in the divisor. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to rewrite it like this. That's the 5.5 needs to be like multiplied by 10 and also in here. So then this will be my new number. So I'm going to rewrite my numbers here. That's going to be a 55, and that is going to be 7,700, because now I'm going to have one more digit. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to multiply by 5. I always like to multiply by 5, so I can see if I need to go higher or lower. So I'm going to multiply here on the side, and that can be extension of step 4. So I'm going to make some squiggles here, guys, and add the number 4. I'm going to pause the video. Okay, guys, so I'm going to just remember how I'm going to be dividing my numbers. So you see how here we have 55. So I'm going to say, can I divide 55 into the 7? Well, no, because 7 is way smaller than 55. So we need to take 2 digits. Our first division will be into 77. I must record an answer on top of the second 7, because we are dividing 55 into 77. I kind of see that 55 is close to 77. So I'm thinking that instead of multiplying by 5, because just if I close numbers, instead of 55, I'm going to say 50. And 50 times 5, or 5 times 5, that's going to be 25. And if I add a 0, that's 250. That's kind of far from here. I'm going to try 55 times 2 first. Can you help me to multiply? 2 times 5, that's a 10. 0 and we carry 1. 2 times 5, that's 10 plus 1, that is 11. And that's even more than 77, so we have to stick with the number 1. I'm going to put a 1 on top of the 77. You see, guys? 55 times 1 is 55. We subtract. 7 minus 5, that's going to be a 2. And 7 minus 5, that's going to be a 2. What do we have to do? Now we have to bring down the 0 right here. So this is going to become 220. Now I'm going to have to check 55 times what is close to this number. And 55 times 2 is far from that. So now I'm going to try the 5. And I'm going to do 55 times the 5. Can you help me to multiply? 5 times 5, 25. 5 and we carry 2. 5 times 5, 25. Plus 2, 27. That's 275, and that's bigger than 220. So now I'm going to try by a number smaller than 5. 55 times 4. I like to think that division is like a game, so we can figure the number or guess the number that is going to get us close to our answer. So that's pretty funny. 5 times 4, that's a 20. 0, and we carry 2. 5 times 4 is 20 plus these 2, that's 220. And awesome, we got our factor. It should be a 4. So I'm going to put a 4 right here. And 55 times 4, I know it's exactly 220. I'm going to continue here on the side. It's going to be 220 minus 220. And that's going to be a 0. Great. And then now, guys, we have one more 0 to bring down. This 0 here, but I'm going to bring it down right here because I ran out of space. I'm going to put it right there. And then I know that 55 times what gets me 0? Well, that's going to be times 5. And that's going to be all zeros here. So we're going to have no remainder. This is going to be 0. Okay, can you look at the answer choices, guys? So did you see it? Awesome. All what it means is that after we multiply these two numbers, we got 770. We did it right here on step 4. Then we divided and we got 140. And that's the unknown value that we were looking for, which is right here. That was the height of the sequoia tree. This is 140. And we said that that was yards. How do we know? Because we recorded right here. So this value is going to get the same units as this one. So we have 140 yards. What is the value that we figured this height right here? So the height of this tree is going to be 140. Now on the answer choices, remember that we asked already. And yes, it is letter C. Awesome job. Thank you, guys.